With all due respect, that's a bunch of malarkey. This is a bunch of stuff, deal.
What does that mean, a bunch of stuff?
Well, it means it's simply inaccurate.
It's Irish.
Exactly, it is. We Irish call it malarkey.
Thanks for the translation.
No, we Irish call it malarkey.
You know what this is? Yeah, and I reserve this word for those rare instances when it's truly deserved. This is malarkey.
That's a bunch of malarkey.
From the King Spring Studios here in Smyrna, Georgia, this is A Bunch of Malarkey. I'm your host, Charlie McMahon. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a co-host in the house.
Hi.
Let's welcome Jennifer. Jennifer, thanks for being here.
It's great to be here.
Now, Jennifer, I know Jennifer for at least 2 years now, right? From that.
Yeah, time flies, but I think that long.
Jennifer was part of the shenanigans in the park. Well, she observed a lot of the shenanigans.
Yeah, don't make me sound like I'm one of the mutants.
She wasn't a mutant by any stretch of the imagination. One of the best people that ever came to that park a lot. And I consider her a friend. She's great, and I really appreciate her being here as part of this bunch of malarkey today.
Well, you're far too kind. Thank you. Yes, you are one of the upsides of parking in that parking lot. I have a new friend.
So I always start off the show with a weekend wrap-up, so I'm going to do that real quick. This weekend was the official launch of a whole lot of shenanigans, and I want to thank everyone out there who was able to get to the party, including Jennifer. Thank you so much. I thought it was a real fun time. There's a video of our presentation up on the Whole Lot of Shenanigans Facebook page, and it's on YouTube also. I'll be putting that link up if you guys want to watch that. But it was a really fun time. And it was almost mutant-free. Now, none of my friends were mutants, but I would say, do you remember those two guys that walked in off the street?
I came in just as they were finishing their rounds and walking out.
So, folks, now, when you rent the clubhouse out in our subdivision, it's pretty widely known that it's a private party. So, I put a couple of signs up for people coming from out of town as they entered the subdivision with an arrow that said book release party. Now, that was just for directional purposes. Well, these two mutants that claim they live in the neighborhood come walking into the party and just like wedding crashers, like Vince Vaughn and the other guy. Who was the other guy?
Owen Wilson?
Yeah, just show up and just start browsing around. I mean, they didn't take any food or drink, which I had more than enough they could have. I wish they would have taken some home with them because I've been eating that sheet cake for 5 days now.
Do you have any quiches left? Because I love those.
Yeah, we'll pop some in the oven right after the show. But, see, now I'm a mutant. I should have had some ready for you today. But these guys just helped themselves. They came in, I appreciate it. They went to the book table, but the rat bastards didn't buy any.
As long as they didn't eat any food, like if you would have said they came in and started drinking your wine and eating, then yeah, but that is bizarre.
Yeah, I mean,
bizarre.
It wouldn't even occur to me to walk by the clubhouse. Now, everybody knows that it's on a rental basis. Anybody who lives here for any period of time knows when there's something going on down there that's not an annual party like we have the parties for the Halloween for the kids and Christmas and a few other things, that it's a private party. It wouldn't occur to me to take my dog for a walk and see the lights on in there and hear the music and just walk in.
I had a similar situation. My cousin rented out a room in my condo. Well, I guess I rented out the room for my cousin's 50th birthday party. One of my neighbors came in, sat down, began eating the food, talking with my aunts and uncles, and then complained about the video, the birthday celebration slideshow that my cousin's husband made for her.
What was wrong with the slideshow?
He said to my great aunt, if you're tired of watching this over and over again, I am too, so I'll go ahead and turn it off.
Oh, he was annoyed that it was on loop.
Yeah.
Can I ask what he ate?
My cousin had the whole thing catered by a barbecue. I think Williamson Brothers Barbecue. He ate everything.
See, because I'm like that. Like when you say ate, I have to know what he ate. He ate ribs?
He ate ribs. He ate coleslaw. There were cupcakes. I mean, he piled up a plate and sat there, leaned back in a chair, chatting to all my relatives.
You can't make this shit up, folks.
It was unbelievable.
So everywhere you go, it's mutant. But before we get to last week's mutant winner, I just want to tell a quick story that I think is hilarious that happened yesterday here. Now, Jen, how long have you been married, Jen?
5 years in August.
Okay, now, do you think that most men act childish?
Yes.
Okay, and they have this childish streak in them, right?
Right.
And including yours truly. As much as I like to say I'm a man, I'm still a child in a lot of ways. So at the party on Saturday night, we got some balloons. 18 large red balloons. I thought it would make the place festive. So when the party ended, we only had the balloons for a few hours. My wife said, "Do you still want the balloons to bring home?" I said, "Yeah, let's bring them home for a few days." And, it was a reminder of the party and the fun we had. Now, for 3 days, I couldn't get the idea of letting them loose out of my head. I just wanted to watch them fly. Now, I know it's bad for the environment. So you people that are over the top with killing, I'm going to kill birds and fish, I get it. And it's not something I normally do. But my wife kept telling me, you cannot let those balloons go because you're going to kill birds and fish, and it's not good for the environment. And I said, I know, but I just want to see them fly. She said, no, don't do it. So she had an appointment yesterday around 3 o'clock. So she's not out of the house more than 5 minutes. And I look at the balloons, and I'm like, I got to let these son of a bitches go. But I'm like, I can't let them go too early because my luck, she'll be on the main road.
She'll be out on Cooper Lake watching your balloons.
I'm watching the balloons go by. So I'm like, I'm going to wait 5 or 10 minutes. So I bring the balloons out on the deck in the backyard, and I let them go. And they went for all of about 50 feet, and they got stuck up in the tree in our backyard right off the deck. And it's too high up to, get with anything.
So they're out there right now?
Well, they were out there, and then from the heat yesterday, one by one, they started popping. And it sounded like gunshots in the backyard. And I'm sitting in the living room, and every 10 minutes I hear boom, boom. So I'm looking out on the deck. I see my neighbors coming out, and they're looking up. They don't know if somebody's shooting fireworks off, gun is shooting. So then I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to tell her when she gets home? She's going to see the balloons missing. She's going to wonder. She's going to take the dogs out and look up and see the string hanging from the trees. So I just came clean when she got home.
Well, see, that's one way that you are not a child. Like, my husband would have come up with this elaborate story about how, muggers came into the house and took the balloons and forced in the, Well, at least you owned up.
Yeah, because I knew once she looked up, because I've been pressing her for days about letting the balloons go, so I knew once she saw that they were gone, she was going to know that. I couldn't resist.
Did she scold you?
Surprisingly not. She just basically told me I was an idiot, which I expected. So
shook her head.
And you know what? I was a mutant yesterday. Every once in a while, we're all mutants, So I was a mutant yesterday, folks.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's not even that bad. You're going to get a letter from your HOA, though, I think.
Oh, what, from the string hanging in the tree?
No, I think from shooting guns from your back porch.
Well, that's pretty normal around here. Now, let's get to the mutant of the week. Last week, first of all my friends now are scared to do anything around me because they're afraid they're going to get nominated as the mutant of the week. I had so much help over the weekend setting up this party, and I can't thank my friends enough, John and Renee and Claire. And so Claire was helping us. I'm sorry if I mention your name, Claire. I'm not mentioning your last name. But Claire was helping us all day Saturday set up the clubhouse. And she accidentally tipped over 2 folding chairs, which was no big deal, and they fell. And she, looked in a panic. And I said, what's the matter, Claire? She goes, oh, my God, I'm going to be the mutant of the week. So now my friends, and I think Renee might have said this when she came here for dinner one night, something happened. And everybody's afraid that I'm going to out them as the mutant of the week. Folks, you have to be a real mutant. You can't compare knocking a folding chair over to a guy taking calluses off his feet on a train with a power tool, who, by the way, was last week's winner. Folks, I don't know why we're having landslide wins every week. I'm trying to match them evenly. Our mutant of the week was the power tool pedicurist, and he beat the gender reveal arsonist 88-12%.
Yeah, I think that probably a lot of people can see themselves sitting next to a guy using a power tool and find it very disgusting. Not many people would picture their neighbor setting an entire forest on fire.
But you don't think setting 8,000 acres is worse than rubbing off your calluses on a train?
Well, society-wise, yes. But I certainly, I think a fire like that affects me far less than a guy sitting next to me. Ugh, I can't even say it.
I skeeve.
Yeah. Ugh.
So, do you want to read our first mutant nominee this week? If I give you the page?
Yeah.
All right, Jen's going to read our first. Jen's going to read our first mutant. This is our mutant nominee number 1. So she's going to read that story for you. A
Colleton County man.
I'm
that's
sorry.
the second.
Yeah, that's page 2. Okay. I'm sorry.
A Colleton County man shot his cousin after warning the relative not to eat his salt and vinegar potato chips, sheriff's deputies said Wednesday. Ryan Dean Langdale, 19, now faces charges of attempted murder, using a firearm in a violent crime, and obstructing justice in the critical wounding of his 17-year-old cousin. At least these guys are teenagers. The Colleton County Sheriff's Office said Langdale reported the September 29th incident at his home on Hudson Mill Road in Ruffin as an accidental shooting. The rural area is 60 miles west of Charleston. He told deputies that his cousin had accidentally shot himself by dropping a hunting rifle while cleaning it, the agency said in a statement.
It's always the excuse, right?
Well, see, there's the childish lies. Like, just come clean. The cousin confirmed the account in a brief statement to deputies before being rushed away into life-saving surgery and eventually to a Charleston area hospital for more treatment. But the evidence didn't line up with that story, Sheriff's Major J.W. Chapman said. First of all, there were chips scattered all over.
Exactly.
We knew from the beginning that something wasn't right, he said. The more we looked into it, the more it seemed odd. The pathway the bullet had taken through the victim's chest was impossible if the victim had mistakenly shot himself. Wow, he was really pissed about this.
Yes.
And when the victim woke up a week later at Trident Medical Center in North Charleston, he told investigators potato chips were at the center of a dispute that prompted Langdale to purposefully shoot him, Chapman said.
Potato chips.
Do not touch my chips or I'll shoot you, Langdale said, according to the victim's account in a sheriff's incident report. Langdale went back into a room, fetched a rifle, and pointed it at the victim, the report alleged. The next thing he knew, the rifle went off.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you have to, like...
Pull the trigger?
Yeah.
A little bit of force on that trigger.
Right. Unlike the early account, the potato chip story fit the evidence, sheriff's officials said. They said the suspect had urged the victim not to tell the authorities what actually happened. Investigators also found out Langdale had switched the rifle used in the shooting with another to cover up his involvement, they allege. Oh, the fingerprints.
Right,
okay,
right.
Well, he's thinking. The detectives found the gun when they searched Langdale's home Monday. He surrendered Wednesday morning, and a judge later set his bail at $55,000. Don't get me started on that. Salt and vinegar chips, Chapman added, are not a rare commodity in Colleton County, and the victim insisted that he never actually ate them.
Never ate the chips.
Well, the warning was, don't touch them.
Right.
He didn't say don't eat them.
Now,
He said, "Don't touch them."
so that's our first nominee this week, the potato chip shooter. Now, let me ask you something, Jen. What snack would you shoot somebody for? What do you love that you like? Get your fucking hands off my snack.
I'm a really big fan of cheese. I mean, we were talking about cheese earlier, and I actually hide cheese in my refrigerator so that my husband can't eat it all. So I think I would threaten violence over cheese.
See, I don't have to resort to these measures because, like I was saying, my wife's vegan, so she can't eat half the crap I like anyway, so I'm not really in competition with anybody. So I don't really think I'd ever have to resort to switching guns and shooting anybody for any of my snacks. There are very few snacks that fit the profile of vegan and that I like, too, that we can both have. So,
do vegans eat snacks? I thought they were very serious about their food
eating.
eating.
Potato chips, all that stuff.
They're vegan.
Yeah,
Oh,
as long as
that's good to know.
there's no animal products in them, unless they're fried in lard or something.
Well, that's what makes them taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Lord of the Flies at my house. You have to eat first or you don't get it. So I seriously hide things.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you run into Jennifer anywhere, just don't touch her cheese.
My concealed weapons permit expired, so you don't have to worry about it,
okay.
General public. I won't be able to shoot you.
All right, here's our second mutant, and I'm sure many of you saw the video of this. The video of this was hilarious on the news, so I'm going to read the story. Police at a Florida, what a surprise, airport removed a passenger who refused to get off a Cleveland-bound flight after she was found carrying an emotional support squirrel.
I read this one.
Passengers had already boarded Frontier Airlines Flight 1612 at Orlando International Airport on Tuesday night when they were told there was a situation. Yeah, didn't the situation just go to jail, too? Remember Situation from Jersey Shore? You just went to jail.
I have no idea who that is.
So this is
say.
the situation. And everyone needed to get off the plane, according to passenger Brandon Nixon.
What? Okay, keep going.
Everybody was a little panicked, he said. You expect the worst when they say something like, that, like we have a situation here. The 24-year-old Ashland, Ohio resident said, a lot of people were asking questions. People wanted to know what the hell was going on. As he exited the plane, Nixon said he asked a flight attendant if she had any additional information. All she said was, squirrel. But once they were back in the terminal, word spread quickly about what was happening. Frontier says the passenger noted in her reservation that she was bringing a emotional support animal with her on the flight, but she failed to indicate that it was a squirrel. Rodents, including squirrels, are not of the emotional support animals allowed on Frontier flights.
So they have a list and they specifically exclude squirrels.
Yeah. So the airline says police were called when the passenger refused to leave the plane. Nixon captured this video of the moment the woman was escorted through the terminal. That's the video I was talking about, folks. You got to check it out. She was pumping her fist in the air as she clutched her carry-on bag with the squirrel on her lap. I knew I had to capture that moment just to show it. It's such an odd thing, something you don't see every day. The passengers boarded the plane 15 minutes later, taking off about 2 hours late. It arrived in Cleveland at 11:57 p.m., but Nixon said most of the passengers didn't mind the delay because it was such a unique situation. This is going to be a story to remember for the rest of our lives, he said. So we have a potato chip shooter and a squirrel plane lady. This is a good one this week. Because I actually, at this point, don't know who I'm going to vote for. I vote every week. This is going to be tough for me.
I mean, I think I need some more details about this squirrel lady. Was the squirrel out of her bag?
No, he was in a carry-on. I guess one of those things that you carry like a small, like, chihuahua in or something.
And, I mean, did her seat neighbor say, wow, that's an interesting-looking dog? And she said, it's not a dog, it's a squirrel. I mean, how did they...
Well, this is becoming a very bad thing because people that really need these emotional support animals people are starting to doubt whether they're legit or not because of all these crazy people bringing all these weird animals. And
I mean, she obviously didn't write down that it was a squirrel because she knew that it was. But there was, I think, how long ago was that somebody tried to bring a peacock?
Yeah,
an emotional support peacock. I mean, I know plenty of people that abuse it with their dogs, but, this is out of control.
Yeah, I don't understand. Now, she claims that it's not just an ordinary, I saw an interview with her, that it's not just a regular squirrel, that she raised this squirrel from the time he was a little, what do you call a baby squirrel? You don't call him a pup or...
Rabbits are kittens.
I don't know what you call it, but from its youth. So I guess she thought that would justify...
I mean, did it sense when she was about to get upset and
I don't know, but
could you
imagine how people with dogs and then you know how dogs are around squirrels?
Oh my God! If my dog would have been on that flight, it would have been a bloodbath.
Chaos.
Oh, that actually would have been a good situation.
Folks, you really can't make this stuff up. This is what I mean. Like I say it every week. I can't even get off the driveway without. I can't get out of the subdivision without mutants. As the other night with the party, everywhere you go. This crap is happening. You can't escape it. Like, it's either stay home and just cut yourself off from society, or you have to deal with this shit.
Do you think that there are more mutants now than there were when we were little kids, or do we just know about more mutants?
I think we know about more. Everybody's filming them, and the news. And that's what I'm saying. Now the news picks up on these stories. Like, years ago, this wasn't news. Now the littlest thing makes the news. So I think there were mutants everywhere when we were kids. We're just hearing about it more now.
Yeah, cell phone cameras have just changed the whole game.
It's true. So we're going to transition from mutants. Well, the whole theme of this week's before we do that, I just want to touch on one social media, since we're just speaking of social media. There's one big debate on Facebook that I can't believe, because I've been eating cereal now. I'm 47 years old. I've been eating cereal since I was a baby, or since I left baby food. And I've always put the cereal in the bowl first and then poured the milk that I felt was adequate for the amount of cereal I put in. There's a debate going on Facebook now about what goes in the bowl first, cereal or the milk.
And it's surprising how many people put the milk in first. Like, I don't even, that just blows my mind.
Yeah, how do you gauge? Like, to me, you put the cereal and then there's, I don't know, it's like this unwritten, like, formula of how much milk, how much milk goes in there. How do you pour the milk in and then gauge the cereal? The opposite.
I don't know. My biggest worry is I'm a huge klutz. If I put the milk in first and then poured the cereal in, there would be milk
splash everywhere. Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you stay over someone's house, a relative, with the shower. Like, you know the calibration of your own shower at home. Like, you move it just slightly and you know how hot or cold it's going to get. When you go over someone's house or at a hotel, you could turn that thing halfway around and it doesn't get hotter or colder. Like, the calibration's way off. And it reminds me of that. Like, it's just a total different calibration.
It'll throw off your whole morning if your milk to cereal ratio is wrong.
You ever do that? Like, at someone's house, you stay a relative and you turn that knob just like an eighth of a millimeter and it goes
burns all the hair off your butt?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I kind of related to that in a weird sort of way.
You know, that's one of the great things about Facebook, I think. You find out just how weird your friends and acquaintances are.
I have never seen anybody, not that I've had cereal with a lot of people. It's not like I used to tell people, come on over, we're going to have a bowl of cereal. But I've never seen somebody pour milk in first.
Me either. And there was a lady from the court that reposted this very...
oh, did she?
Yeah, this debate. And she's a milk first person.
Really? How old is she?
I would guess she's in her 40s.
See, I was going to say, if she was like a millennial, maybe it's a new thing. But if she's in her 40s, why is she doing this?
Do millennials drink milk? I thought that, like, milk was out. I thought they spent all their money on avocados.
Or maybe almond milk.
That's true. Almond milk, yes.
But I guess everybody does. It's like that Seinfeld episode where George sees the guy eating the Snickers bar with the fork and knife, and then he decides he's going to do it. So I guess everybody does things their own quirky little way. So I just don't get it. When I read that story, I'm like, this is odd.
Yeah, I, as far as cereal and milk, I believe you should fall in with the herd and do what everybody else is doing.
Exactly. So this week's topic, and we're going to get onto that now, is, as I said on the preview clip yesterday, preview video, which thank you all for checking that out, is going to be about etiquette. Etiquette seems to be a lost thing. And what do you think is to blame, Jen, for the lack of etiquette? Do you think it's the social media and people being disengaged from interacting with people because they're on these phones and they don't have to interact? Where do you think etiquette lost its luster?
Well, I think that's part of it, but it's also, I don't think, it's just like these horrible drivers. Like, all of a sudden there are all these people driving in the left lane below the speed limit. I think it's because their parents or whoever aren't teaching them. So it's a combination of both. Yeah, like, we're just not learning, and on top of it, there's no harm, no foul, because I don't have to look you in the face and tell you I'm not coming to your party. I just click a button on Facebook.
And that's a great segue. Thank you for mentioning that. Now, I would never bash anybody. Things happen in people's lives, folks. I am not going to say that if you respond yes to a party, that if a situation comes up, that the party should take precedent over a family emergency, a child getting sick. And that's, I've said it a million times. I wish I had kids just for that one thing. Because a kid gets sick, who the fuck's going to argue with you? My kid's sick. Oh, fuck you. You're coming to my party. And people just say, oh, I hope he feels better. Or you get out of everything.
Yes, you do.
So at this book launch party, I invited a lot of people. And some casual people that I don't see very often. But, a lot of people took an interest in it. And there were a few people that took an extreme interest in it. In their comments that we wouldn't miss it. We're coming. And a couple of situations happened. There were people who, the great thing about electronics is that you can see when someone sees the invite. It says seen, and the day that they saw it and everything. That just ignore the invite. They don't reply yes, no, or maybe. They just ignore it. And then you have to wonder, as you're shopping for food and getting the right head count, whether these people are just blowing you off or if they're just going to show up. So that's one part of etiquette that's totally messed up. Then you got the people who respond yes, that suddenly don't show up. They either just blatantly don't show up, or at the last minute they switch that electronic thing from yes to no, and they don't even email or message you or anything like,
no
sorry,
call,
no, nothing. Like and again, maybe something came up, I don't know, but it would be nice, even a couple of days later, say, hey, sorry we missed it. This came up, and we actually do know someone who didn't show up. Her sister ended up being in ICU or something, and that's fine. Things happen. But what's your experience with these RSVPs and people not showing up? I've never had someone say to me, Charlie, you're an asshole. Why the fuck would I come to your party? I don't like you. I would respect somebody more if they wrote that in the comments, then just string me along, not answer me, or tell me yes, and then just tell me I'm an asshole. I can deal with it. I'm thick-skinned.
I'm going to try that on my daughter's next birthday invitation. I'm going to be like, no, your kid's a total fuck off. I'm not buying him a present, and I'm not coming to your stupid party. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I've experienced both sides. I mean, I've RSVP'd yes, and then hit the day of and just didn't want to get out of my pajamas. And
did you notify the people?
Sometimes yes, sometimes.
So you've been a mutant. You've been a mutant.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. But then on the other side, I had people who were invited to my wedding show up to my wedding in blue jeans with people who weren't invited. Like, it was a married couple who were invited, and they brought 2 friends that I didn't even know. And they only RSVP'd for 2 people.
2 people.
And they were all wearing blue jeans.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it just... you just look at them and you're like, what is going through your head? And of course, I've got a big mouth.
Really? No.
Yeah, but
you're
I
like
didn't
the female
say
me.
because I didn't want to ruin my own wedding. I didn't want to be upset at but you can see my pictures with my dad. I'm dancing with my dad, and we're talking about these mutants. So you can see the looks on our faces. You see my dad going, who is that? And I'm like, I have no idea. And then the next picture is him going, really? And you can totally see that every time we pass them in our loop.
I could see me as your DJ going back, ladies and gentlemen, please focus your attention to the center of the dance floor where the bride and her dad are going to dance to their father-daughter song, and they're going to discuss the mutants here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's, my parents just had a Christmas party last year. All of their friends RSVP'd that they were going to come, and not one person showed up.
Right. Well, we
sat there.
The thing about Saturday night, like, again, it's a book launch party, and I really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate anybody who came, everybody who's supporting me online. I don't live in the area. And listen, I'm Italian. I'm half Italian. We're always going to have enough food. We always overbuy. That's in my DNA.
Yes, mine too.
But, I mean, I really overbought for this party so I'm going to eat goddamn cheese. You better be hungry after this taping.
I'm seriously eating mini quiches.
Yeah, so I've got food. I ordered one of those giant sheet cakes at Costco. Now, a lot of people had to leave, right after the presentation. I've been eating cake, and I'm 35 pounds heavier than I was before I started the job at the parking lot because I'm a lazy piece of shit now. I have no motivation. I have a full gym downstairs that I don't go in. I got to start. I'm not making excuses. I'm a fat fuck right now, but I'm eating this sheet cake every night and like large chunks of this cake. You're killing me, people. Show up so I don't have to eat all this shit.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not a really sweet tooth, so I wouldn't help you with the cake, but...
Yeah, so my mother-in-law, who I love dearly, and I know she listens to this, she said, as a nice gesture to our next door neighbor is the vice president of the HOA, and she let us have access to the clubhouse a day early so we could set up. She says, why don't you bring her a nice piece of that cake as a thank you?
Especially after the balloon incident.
Right.
I think some cake is needed.
But I said to her, that could be looked at 2 ways. She could say, oh, that's really nice of you. Or the next neighbor could say, look at this fucking asshole pawning off the cake that nobody wanted on me, bringing 2-day-old cake over here.
You're overthinking it.
Really?
She will, if she likes cake, she will like it. If she has a man in the house.
See, I'm the opposite. If somebody brought me cake from 2 days ago, I would think, if they brought me a bottle of wine with it, maybe I would say it was a good gesture. But if somebody's bringing me 2-day-old cake, I'm thinking they're just trying to pawn it off on me.
Oh, no. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'd put it right on the counter. It would distract my husband from the cheese.
Okay.
And he would scarf it right down and not even think twice.
So, now, there's also etiquette. We talked about parties, about going to someone's house. If someone invites you over for dinner or a cocktail party, there's certain etiquette that should be followed. Now, I have a friend, Anthony, who I was best friends with in high school, and I consider him family. I don't consider him a friend. His parents, his grandparents, we were always around them. And he had a funny grandfather who always said, Charlie, when you come over here, I want you to bring me so much stuff that you're ringing the doorbell with your elbow. So that was like the thing. To me, when you go to someone's house for dinner, again, maybe it's a thing ingrained in me from the way I was brought up Italian. Food is the center of everything.
Right.
I mean, food is like your peace offering. My mother used to punish us and kick our ass, literally beat the shit out of us, and then 5 minutes later she'd feel guilty. Come on out, we're having ice cream. Like that was like the peace offering after getting our ass kicked. So food has been like the center of my life. I wake up in the morning and I'm already wondering what we're having for dinner. I'm obsessed with food. It's all I think about. So when I go to someone's house, I like to ring the doorbell with my elbow. And we have friends, Johnny B, who's been on the show, and Renee. We have dinner with them once a week. And they come here a lot because we can't leave our dogs for any extended period of time. And I'm telling you, these people come with shopping bags full of stuff. These people went to the same school my parents went to. And
I'm going to need their phone number so
yeah.
I can get them over.
But then you have other people, and not so much here, but up in New York and other times in my life, you have people just show up and sit down and eat, and they don't even bring a stick of gum. You ever have that where people come? And I don't care.
I've done that too. I mean, like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but I've told myself, I'm going to stop, I'm going to get it, and then
But you can always stop for like Ring Dings and Pepsi like Costanza did.
Now, what would you do if I showed up at your door for dinner with Ring Dings and Pepsi?
Actually,
I'd be a mutant of the
No,
week.
actually, you wouldn't be, because everybody brings bread and a bakery cake and wine. You show up with, like George said, you show up with Ring Dings and Pepsi. You're the hit of the party.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Even here in Georgia where Coca-Cola products are so?
Oh, Coke, Pepsi, doesn't matter. But people are more apt to eat a Ring Ding than this fancy schmancy. People love Ring Dings.
True. I mean, I've started, I guess I must be the lush of my friend circle, because I've had to start bringing 2 bottles of wine with me, because it seemed like every time I brought a bottle of wine, they'd go, oh, great, you want some? We'll open this for you. And then I'd end up drinking the bottle of wine that I brought as a gift. So now I bring 2.
Like when you have a party at a hall or a clubhouse like the other night, I don't expect anybody to bring anything. I know you did, and a bunch of other people did, and that was just, to me, it's, you don't have to do that because it's like a catered type, or
Yeah, but that was more geared towards
right.
Congratulations
but
on
like
your book.
at someone's house, it's a totally different story. When you stop by someone's house. My mom used to, and a comedian talks about this. Have you heard of Sebastian Maniscalco?
No.
Oh, he's one of the top comedians in the country right now.
Maniscalco?
Yeah, he's an Italian guy from Chicago.
Okay.
And he said and my mom used to do the same thing. She would buy a cake and tell you that was for company, just in case someone popped over unexpectedly. Because back then, people just stopped over at people's house. You didn't text before you called and say, is it okay to call? You just showed up at people's houses. And my mother said, you touch that cake, I'll break your arms. That's
I'll
for
shoot
company.
you.
Yeah. Those devil dogs or whatever are for you guys, but that crumb cake is for company.
I remember my grandmother doing that.
Yeah. So, like, you always had something in case somebody stopped by, a bottle of wine, something in the house. Even my grandparents and my wife and I did it for a while when we lived in New York. We always kept, at Christmas time, a bottle of wine in like the foil thing, or a little gift in a bag. In case a neighbor stopped by that we weren't expecting that brought us a gift. We always had something.
Yes. My mother definitely does that. I am not that good.
We haven't done it here because nobody stops by here unless we know. Like, it's a different time. Nobody's stopping by anymore.
No. But if they did, I'd be proud to offer them a nice pair of socks. Maybe.
You just run upstairs.
A houseplant that's half alive. Yeah.
Have you ever just wrapped something in your house and given it to somebody because you felt awkward at the last minute?
Yes.
What'd you wrap?
Well, it wasn't anything personally belonging to me, but it was something that my mother had just given me recently. It was I think she got it from Oriental Trading. It was a wall hanging that was broken on the inside. So I didn't even wrap it. I'm too lazy to wrap. I stuck it in a gift bag that someone else had given me and gave it away.
Well, my grandmother, my Italian, on the Italian side, they would have neighbors stop by. And this is a funny story. I don't mean to get off the rails, but I think this fits in. Every Saturday morning as a child, we would be dropped at my grandparents because my parents worked on Saturdays in the retail and supermarket business. So we would get dropped off at like 6 in the morning and spend the day with them. Now, my grandmother would load up the candy dish. It was like going to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Got my grandparents cakes, cookies, you name it. We would be, and then she'd send us home to my crazy Italian mom. Like, yeah, all right, they're all hopped up.
Yeah, bouncing off the walls.
So one Saturday, it was right before Christmas, she bought these cookies. I don't know if you know what they are. They're German. I forget the name. It starts with a P. They're like powdered sugar covered spice drops. They're
I know what you're talking about.
Farfanoose or something crazy like that. Something
Farfignugan?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So we bit into it as a kid. It's not a taste
Flugels? I don't know.
It's not a taste a kid's going to enjoy, like a spicy. So we spit them out, and my grandmother's like, "That's the things I get you kids. You're spoiled brats." And she took the cookies and she says, "I'll eat them." And then we kept telling her, "Grandma, those are gross." And she goes, "All right, enough." 10 minutes later, the doorbell rings. And it's the neighbor that lived behind them. And she said, my grandparents' names were Charlie and Lucy. Charlie and Lucy, I just wanted to stop by and wish you a Merry Christmas. Oh, I see the grandkids are over. Listen, Charlie, I know that you like wine. Here's a nice bottle of wine. She gives him a red wine. And then she reaches in the bag and says, Lucy, I know you love cookies with your coffee. So I got you these. And it was the same cookies that we just spit out 5 minutes ago. So we're 3 kids. We go running off into the room, hysterical laughing. And the woman says, oh, Lucy, why are they laughing? I don't mind them. They're crazy, those kids. Because we were just having a debate how gross these cookies were. And then the neighbor stops by with these same shitty cookies.
She heard your shitty cookie discussion. She probably had them on her counter and was like, I'm going to get rid of these shitty cookies.
So have you ever seen anybody at your house that you've invited over, like double dipping? And what's the gross? Like, ever seen anything gross that people do in your?
There's plenty of double dipping. Like, I don't even think anybody thinks about that anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I made fun of my friend for double dipping, and I even brought up the George Costanza thing, and he had no idea what I was talking about.
See, I put a spoon in like the hummus and all that now, so people are deterred from dipping the chip in it.
I'm a spoon ignorer. I'm not a double dipper, but I will dip.
You don't put a little spoon of hummus on your plate and dip?
I do, but I don't. I might use the chip to do that, but more likely I'm just going to.
You don't get a good distribution of the hummus on the chip without dipping it.
No, I want a big hunk of hummus right on the edge of my chip.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't double dip though.
No, I do not double dip. That's gross.
Have you? But you've seen people at your house and you don't call them out on it. Like, why the hell are you double dipping in the avocado?
No,
guacamole?
not generally.
No, you just let it go.
It depends. Like, if it was you, I would probably call you out. But if it's like,
hey, you rat mutant bastard!
Yeah, get your filthy chip out of my fucking hummus. But normally I don't. Mm-mm.
See, I am weird. Like, I was telling Jen the other night, if it hits the table, like if it hits the buffet table, the spread, and it's left over, I won't eat it afterwards because there's too many people hovering over it. You don't know if they double dipped, and when people talk, they naturally, not that they spit, but, mist comes out.
Hairs fall off.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it's been out for hours, I tell Jen, and it can be like a bowl of like pretzels that look untouched. I said to Jen, throw them out.
Oh, no. They go back in the bag in my house.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, God made dirt. Like, my child has been extremely sick less than 3 times in her life, knock on wood.
Because
she picks the things off the ground and eats it. Like, yeah, we do all of that.
See, I have a rule. If it hits I'm very strict with like expiration dates, and I'm over the top.
Oh, you're like my mom.
Yeah, if it hits the table. So I told Jen the other night, put out the hummus in bowls and keep in the refrigerator. If we need to refill it, then we'll refill it. I'd rather refill because then if there's leftovers, like that weren't touched, I'll eat it.
You can still eat it.
But if it hits the table, I won't go near it.
Things like hummus, because they get dried and crusty on the top. Yeah, throw that out. But the pretzels, yes, we will say. And I'll even put them back out for other guests.
No, I'm not coming.
Do not come to my house.
I'm gonna get to your house early if you have a party, and I'm gonna watch you open the fresh bag.
Or maybe you just bring the new bag.
I could do that too.
Serve these pretzels.
But did you ever go? All right, did you ever go to a friend's house for dinner and see that it was so filthy in their house that you were kind of reluctant to eat anything there?
Oh my God, yes, yes.
And
I didn't eat anything.
We had a neighbor when I was still single. I was living in Long Beach, and I had a neighbor across the street, Mario, who was an old Italian guy. But he had a disabled daughter at home. He had his hands full for a guy his age, and I felt bad for him. And he was the nicest guy, but his house was filthy. So he used to come. We were in our 20s. We had these big parties on my front lawn. He used to come over and dance with the young. He was a really nice guy, loved us. So he knew we were having a party. He says, "I'm going to make meatballs." Now, my face must have turned pale white. I'm like, I'm not eating anything made in that house. So he brings the meatballs over, and my friend Vito was there, and somehow he was making me try the meatball. Come on, Charlie, try it. And I made an excuse. Oh, I think I hear my phone ringing. And I ended up pointing off the tasting on Vito. And he got his face turned green that he had to try because he's been in the house too. But if I see the inside of someone's house and it's filthy, I won't eat anything from that house.
I think I won't. I don't eat in their house, but I probably would have eaten that meatball.
Really?
I mean, the way I look at it is...
Picture a hoarder house that you see on those shows with all the filth everywhere, and you're going to eat meatballs?
Well, but, the way I look at it is you go out to Bennigan's, and you don't know what that kitchen looks like in the back.
1993.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what.
Yeah, but at least they get
Joe
inspected.
Schmo is doing back there.
Yeah,
in
but
the
at least
kitchen.
they're inspected by some agency, and you have some sort of safety net.
Like what?
Who's
Once
checking-
every 6 months?
Who's
they get
checking
inspected?
Mario's meatballs?
Well, I mean, at least you've been there and you know. Like,
Yeah,
you see
exactly.
in the kitchen, you're like, okay, there's a good chance there's a hair in this meatball, maybe
Oh,
some
no.
dust. Like
It was
you know.
worse than hair and dust. It was just disgusting.
I don't know. I think you would have lived through that meatball.
See, I'm surprised. I thought you'd be like, I won't
Oh,
touch
no.
it either.
No. And probably having a child probably changed a lot of that because, you
Maybe
know,
so.
she freaks out, drops something on the floor. You're going to damn eat that because I pick it up and eat it, you know? Like, yeah.
Folks listening, in the comment section on Facebook, put in, if you're a parent, let us know if you're like Jennifer, if you changed your views on like what's disgusting as you've had kids because you've seen different things that maybe you might not have seen before you had kids. Let me know if you agree with that.
I mean, I sit there and watch her pick her nose and eat it. Like, not even any pause between the nostril and the mouth. Like, it just goes
We
straight
had a
in.
woman named Rita who was the controller of this IT company that I worked for. I was in the purchasing department. She was an older Jewish lady, and she used to make this little Jewish pastry called rugula. Have you heard of them?
Yes.
And I love rugula.
Me too.
But the rumor had it from the women in the company that Rita would use the restroom and walk right out of the bathroom and not wash her hands. So when she came in with those rugula, she went around to each cubicle and was offering up the rugula. So I took one and put it on the napkin. She goes, "Come on, try it. I know you like sweets and all." I said, "Rita, I just had lunch. I'll have it later." And I balled it up in the napkin. I threw it out, and then I went to her. "Rita, that was delicious." And just knowing that she didn't wash her hands in that toilet, she probably didn't wash them at home. I couldn't eat the rugula.
Oh, yeah, I would have eaten that rugula, no problem.
Well, because you think the heat might have killed the germs when she
No,
baked them?
because, you know, like, I don't know. I hope I'm exposed to everything. So that way, when, like, when the mutants start the plague that wipes out the majority of our society, I will survive because I have been exposed to the filth.
You're really throwing me for a loop today
humanity.
because I thought that you would be, like, the opposite. But
No,
this is awesome that we have differing. This is great.
Yeah, I'll eat it.
What about buffets? Like if you go out to a wedding or an event where it's like a buffet style where people have plates and if it's not controlled by caterers behind standing out, dishing it out, how do you feel about that? You don't?
Yeah, I don't care about that.
See, from being a DJ, I was usually put in a space in the room where I was like almost like a judge. I was a little bit above everybody, so I could see everything, and I would watch these people. You talk about etiquette. There would be people that would go up there 3 and 4 times before the first people even got their first round.
Yeah.
And I would say to myself, you can't wait until everybody got a first crack at that chicken franchise or whatever the hell it is over there. But people would get up 3, 4, 5 times before all the tables got up. And I would see this. And you know what? I had like a gift when I DJ'd. I could set up my equipment. As the people started coming in, I would look at the crowd and I would point out in my mind who the assholes were going to be, who was going to get drunk and spill drinks on the dance floor, who was going to be the asshole, and I was almost always right. It was like a gift.
That would have been a good wedding entertainment bit, I think, for a DJ. Like, put like a bowl out or something, and like we're gonna write down the name of the person that you think is gonna spill red wine on the bride tonight. You know.
But problem I have with buffets is this, and again, this is probably not going to bother you, but people will go back up with their dirty plate after they've eaten off of it, and then they dip the serving spoon in the baked ziti, and then they put it on their plate and they tap the plate that's already been. How many
germs do you think are actually on that plate? Like, I don't do that. I don't take a dirty.
Get a fresh plate.
But still, like, how
it's just
you really think that's adding that?
I think
much?
it's the whole visual of it that just grosses me out.
Oh, interesting. I've seen people at buffets, like little old ladies at a wedding, not finish their chicken franchise and scoop it right back off into the thing and take
that
something
is disgusting.
else. Yeah, that I didn't eat. I didn't eat the rest of the chicken. I didn't eat any more of that. But you know,
what about when there's like you put food out on the table, like we're all having a big dinner together, and you have serving forks and spoons in the different dishes, and people that take their own fork that they're eating with and they poke it into the main dishes. Does that bother you?
No.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that's like primitive behavior?
It is. But, you know, I'm going to live, right? You know, like if the pork's good enough and I want to eat a piece of that pork, I'm going to eat it. I don't care.
What about at work? Now, I always say that, like at offices, you could really take a crap on the break room table, and people would walk in there and go, "Oh, where are the crackers to spread it on?" You could put anything on a break room table.
Yes.
And we had these two guys at the same IT company where Rita did it and made Rugla with her piss-ridden hands.
Sounds delicious.
Doesn't it? It adds a little something extra. But these guys would, when we would have a catered lunch, every once in a while the owners would buy lunch for the whole company, or we would have an outside vendor to try and keep up, us ordering from them would cater a lunch for us. I don't know how these guys, they knew when, this was like before GPS. This was like in the late 90s. This was before, I think they had LoJack on the caterer's truck because they knew exactly what, well, they would actually call the company and ask where the truck was and how soon he'd be here because they would be waiting in the break room for the food to be dropped and be the first ones in there. And then, like I said, they would go back 3 and 4 times before anybody else in the company, before everybody would get the food. See, that's shitty etiquette.
I got one that beats that. Like we have an office in WeWork. I don't know what WeWork is, but it's like a shared office space where you have different levels of office space that you can rent. Well, they had a Mother's Day luncheon last year, and they do great things with food. It started at noon. I got down there at 12:15, and this group of millennial men had eaten all the food and were complaining that the mini quiches were too greasy. I'm like, motherfucker, you don't even have a uterus, and you
ate the Mother's Day spread.
Yes, they ate all of it. It was gone. I think they did have Bloody Marys. I managed to get a Bloody Mary, but I think I got some crackers. And
did you get some celery in the Bloody
Mary?
Or did they eat that
They
too?
had trashed the Bloody Mary thing, so I did not eat the celery because somebody had spilled the mix in the celery
disgusting.
thing. So, yeah, I do have some lines when it comes to,
can't
eating
understand.
this stuff.
Like,
but
that's what I'm saying. Like, we had, my mother, like you said earlier in the show, it's about how you brought up. Because, I like, as I've said a million times, there was chaos in my house. Always. Like, there was so much drama and chaos and bullshit in my house growing up. But we were taught, when you leave this house, the bullshit and all this stuff stays
Correct.
here.
Right.
My mother used to look at us as kids, and we'd be walking into the supermarket. She'd look us right in the eye. You touch one thing or act that line, I will break your arm when we get out of this store.
And you believed her.
You didn't mess, no, because she would have. You don't mess with mine. So we would be like petrified, and people would come up to my mom, and I remember it being a kid. Your kids are so well behaved. Because she put the fear of God into us before entering anywhere. And that's a lost thing now. Parents in a lot of cases, and I'm not a parent, so people are going to say, who the hell are you to judge? You don't have kids. But
you watch kids, though?
But
like
from what I've seen,
them?
parents want to be more friendly with the kids nowadays than be the mom or the dad. And it's good to have that best friend type relationship with your kid. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But you have to be a mom or a dad first, in my opinion. And if there's no fear in the law, police, and I'm not saying police don't overstep their boundaries without getting political and do things that they shouldn't do, because they do. It's in the news all the time. But as a kid, I feared teachers. I feared the principal. I feared my mom. I feared, you have to have a little bit of fear to keep you in line. And once that fear is gone, it's anarchy.
Well, part of my fear of my principal was not only my parents, but he had a ping pong paddle in his office. And you feared getting paddled by Mr. Roth. I mean, they don't do that anymore. No. And, to a certain extent, I'm okay with that because I don't want anybody paddling my kid either.
Right.
But at the same thing, that was that fear that you're talking about.
No, you're absolutely right. So back to etiquette. Now, tipping. This is something that, people have different opinions on. When someone comes to this house for anything, whether it be last week we had to have one of the HVAC units replaced. I don't have weekly landscapers, but I do have a guy that comes and does projects. I maybe go over the top, and I learned this from my grandfather. I bring him drinks, cake, and gets a tip at the end.
I need to mow your lawn.
No, because I feel like we spoke about the other night, like I grew up in a middle-class family, and I understand what it's like for a middle-class person to get up for work every day and bust their ass, and the little things like that. Like when you brought me, now Jennifer parked in my parking lot every day. The last day I was there, she brought me cupcakes, and a couple other my regular parkers brought me a gift card or money in a card. Now, something none of them had to do, but they appreciated the littlest service or thought of me as a friend, and that's how I treat people that come into this house. And I get that from my grandfather. And I think in New York, tipping was a courtesy. but it was also a bribe. In New York, you had to bribe people to get anything. Here in Smyrna, if you have a large item that needs to be put out for the garbage and it doesn't fit in your pail, you have to pay an extra fee for them to come and put it in there. In New York, if something big, my grandfather would wait for the garbage man, slip him a 20 or 50, whatever he gave him. He could have had my grandmother rolled up in a rug, and they wouldn't have questioned it. They would have just tossed it in the truck. And that's everything in New York. My grandfather would give him cold beer in the summer. He was always out there giving them something. So whatever he put out, whatever he needed, never questioned it. He could have put bodies out there. They would have just said, no problem. It's Mr. DeCarlo. Let's. And that's how it is in New York. You do it as a courtesy, but you also have to bribe people.
Yeah.
So
I do. I hope none of my daughter's teachers are listening because I do that at the school too. So it's your birthday? Here's a big bag of Snickers bars, your favorite candy.
So do you tip a lot? Like the people that come to your house, like repairmen or?
Well, I live in a condo, so I don't have to deal with that too much, but we do have folks come every 2 weeks to clean, and I don't tip them every time. I give them a large tip twice a year. So like at Christmas time, I leave out a couple $100.
Right, so it makes up for all the weeks.
And I'm, maybe sometimes I complain about their services. Maybe I should do it differently, but but I over-tip everybody. Even when I have crappy service at a restaurant, they're getting 20% because they're making $2 an hour.
Exactly.
They still brought me my food, and
And it's weird because like up north, a tip is almost expected, but down in the south, it's really not, because every time when we had these HVAC guys here last week, after it was all done, now my wife's a little more over the top than I am when it comes to tipping. I said, let's give them $10 each. They can get lunch. And my wife's like, what are you going to get for $10? So we give them, when they were done, we gave them $20 each. And the guys looked at it like, oh, we can't take this. And I'm like, just take it. It's on. And they were so hesitant to take it. Here in the South, they almost don't want to take it. They're like hesitant to take a tip. But in New York, it's like expected. Like, oh, you're only giving me 20?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't tip an HVAC person. No.
So, even though we paid $7,000 for them.
I mean, I guess if it's somebody that's probably going to be coming back,
you never know.
A regular thing, but I wouldn't do that.
Well, because I just felt
you're nice. Are there tips associated with co-hosting a bunch of malarkey?
We'll square away at the show.
Miniature quiches?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we'll make them. But we have a guy who does like little landscaping projects, and he gets here in the morning. I bring him out coffee, and as the day goes on, I bring him cold water and soda. And then in the afternoon, we all need that 3 o'clock sugar. Yeah. I run them out cakes, and all the guys stop. And these guys love me. Every time they pass the house, they stop and talk to me because he's a regular that does jobs for us. And he told me, and I couldn't believe the story. He goes, Charlie, you know how much we appreciate all the stuff you bring to us. We've had customers tell us, if you get thirsty, the hose is outside.
Oh, that's
like
awful.
He's some sort of like low, like disgusting.
Oh, that's
and
awful.
I even tell him, if you need to use the restroom, let me know.
Yeah.
Like, he said a lot of people won't let him in the house to use the bathroom.
That's insane. We're hiring a new like a housekeeper type person, and she put in her email quote to me that she brings a backpack with supplies and that I am welcome to search her backpack before she leaves. That is horrifying to me. Just like he's a human being. Yes, I would do the same thing you do. I would give them water and things like that.
And it's just who you run into, because when I DJ'd, there were some people who automatically, like, because I was a vendor, said, Charlie, we have a meal. We purchased a meal for you.
Mm-hmm.
So put the music on autoplay and go have dinner. And other people, they didn't even, as long as the music was playing, they didn't care if I was hungry, thirsty. I would just stand there for 6 hours. They didn't care.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Same with my parking lot job.
A DJ is somebody you tip and you have a meal for them.
Tips, it's weird. New York, I would get tipped like crazy, like almost where I didn't want to accept the tip because it was over the top. And here in the South, I would get tips, but a lot of the time they would be like, oh, you did a great job. We're going to refer you to everybody. And then they wouldn't tip you. And it would be like, that's weird. I never expected it. If they gave it to me, great, but it was just weird. Some people would go over the top, give you a great review, and then not tip you.
Yeah, that is strange.
But I'm a tipper.
Yeah, I am too.
What about greeting cards? You get a greeting card from someone. How long do you hold on to it before you throw it away?
As long as it takes me to read it.
No,
I'm dead serious. My daughter's birthday cards sit up on the table for maybe a week because she likes them. Our cards go right in the garbage.
What if I told you and everybody out there, and I think I posted this on Facebook last year or 2 years ago, that I have every greeting card anyone has ever given me since 1990?
I would tell you that you have a problem and you need to seek help.
I have a Rubbermaid, one of those oversized Rubbermaid totes with the snap-on lid down in the basement, and I have every single greeting card. So if I anybody listening, if I dated you, if we were friends, anything, I still have your greeting card.
For all the listeners out there that are getting the heebie-jeebies right now, I'm going to endeavor to find this Rubbermaid and take it away with me when I leave.
Yeah, but you know what? You came in. We're not like hoarders. It's not like we hoard.
Yeah, but still, just knowing that that's somewhere in your house is making me a little nervous.
Because you know why I do it? Because you want to reminisce, and also like certain relatives have passed away, and to read something they wrote to me, I have a physical thing. Like this chair I'm sitting in was my grandfather's chair.
But that's a chair. Now, there's a difference also, like, okay, so are all these cards you've saved, are there personal sentiments written in every single one?
Not in every one,
or
but
just love Aunt Bobby on a Hallmark card?
Mixture of both, really.
Pitch. I can understand handmade cards that have a nice note in them, but the love Aunt Bobby, not straight in the garbage.
Really?
You will never get a card from me for that very reason.
I am making you a homemade card on your birthday.
And I will have that. Like, my daughter will get stuck with that when I die. But if you buy me a Hallmark card and write, love Charlie, I will read it, go, oh, Charlie's so sweet, right in the
So
garbage.
if I handmade it, you'd like frame it and put it on the wall?
Well, I don't know about framing it, but, it might go on the refrigerator for a time.
All right. So at least I know not to bring a Hallmark if I ever come to your house for
Like, my
anything,
mother keeps Hallmark running. Like, she should have stock. I get cards from her on happy get a brand new toilet day. Like, I have cards from her and they all go straight in the garbage.
My in-laws are very good with cards too. Like when I wrote the book, they sent a congratulations. Anything, if I got a new job, even the parking lot job, when I left and when I started, even like menial jobs, they'll always send a card out and things like that.
Nobody gets cards. Did you notice that the champagne I brought you in the gift bag, the card was blank because I want you to be able to reuse that card.
We went to read it and it was, but we knew who it was from.
I don't do cards.
See, my wife and I, it depends. Like on our anniversary, we'll do cards. I don't think we do Valentine's Day cards anymore.
We do I think we got Celine Valentine's Day cards last year, but she didn't get birthday cards from us this year. She got presents. Why the hell do you need a card when I'm giving you a present?
See, cards in my house, a true story. My friend Anthony, who I mentioned earlier, who I was close with his family, I hope he listens to this because it's one of the funniest stories. It was the night before Easter, and Anthony was over my house, and he said to me, my mother is very big on cards, greeting cards. You have to give out greeting cards. And it was the day before Easter, and he goes, shit, I didn't get anybody cards. And this was at 10 o'clock at night. He goes, I'm going to have to go around now, find an open supermarket or stationery store or something and get cards. So he says, I'm going to leave now. I'll get the cards and I'll go home. I said, all right, I'll see you Monday. We'll talk. About an hour and a half later, his mother calls me, frantic. Anthony's gone. He's dead. His mother wasn't over-exaggerating. I said, what, Ann? Did he leave your house? Yeah, he left hours ago. Oh, my God, he's dead. You better get over here. So I wake my mom up. I go, Mom, Anthony's mother called. She thinks he's dead.
Did you stop and get a card?
So we went to his house. So we're out on the front lawn. She's in a panic. She was worse than my mom. He's dead. I know he's dead. He's going to be on the milk carton. All this crazy talk. A few minutes later, you see his car coming around the corner, and he gets out casually with the CVS bag or whatever with the greeting cards in it. He was all going around town for hours trying to find somebody to open to get the greeting cards, and she's calling us in the middle of the night saying he's dead somewhere.
My mother would do that. Like, to this day, if we're in her house for even St. Patrick's Day, we will wake up, come out, and there on the dining room table is a card for every person along with some kind of cheap tchotchke.
Green quiches.
Well, green quiches I would accept, but a duck that wiggles when it hits the sunlight, like, that's going right in the garbage too, Charlie. Right in the garbage.
All right, so we know, now to recap, when I go to your house, I'm not bringing a greeting card. I am bringing cheese or and some pretzels. Quiches and pretzels. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to eat those pretzels that I bring. I'm not going to eat the pretzels that you put out because I don't know if they're from, Grandma's 80th birthday party 2 months ago.
There's a good chance
recycle those pretzels.
I think I have a bag of tortilla chips in my half-eaten bag of tortilla chips that are probably like 4 months old, and I haven't thrown them out because you never know when you might need tortilla chips.
Well, like that salt and vinegar guy. They're easily available. While you're saving tortilla chips, you could get anywhere.
There are starving people in Africa, Charlie. My mom raised me right.
So is your mom still like that too? Well, she'll recycle the food and everything?
Well, no. My mother is a lot like you.
Yeah.
Like, she gets lunch meat from Publix, and 2 days after it's been
Oh,
in
that's
the house,
how I am
if
too.
it's not eaten, it's out. Like, the day on the milk carton, the milk is out. It doesn't matter. She just bought it yesterday. If it says it expires today, that milk is getting tossed out.
That is a whole nother show I'm going to do. My in-laws, now my mother-in-law isn't that bad. My father-in-law, and I know you're listening, so you better check your stock. He will send us pictures on a weekly basis of stuff he finds in he has this basement pantry. He'll find products like frozen orange juice. He has this freezer from 1997.
Oh, she does that.
And he tells me it's still good.
Oh, yeah, no.
He says, this shit doesn't go bad. And we'd tell him, you're going to die.
Yeah, she does that, but she throws it out when she finds it. So we joke about
I don't know if he
that.
really drinks or if he's just messing with us on the email, but he'll tell us that he's going to consume it. We're like, you're going to die.
I have a friend that every time she goes home to Indianapolis, she has a 4-year-old child too, and her mom's like, here, I have some frozen lasagna. Why don't you heat this up? And Megan looks at it, and she's like, this expired in 1997. It's just fine. Jackson's going to love it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And right into the garbage it goes. Yeah.
So that is our etiquette-themed show. Before we go, we're going to just talk briefly, because I know I've been killing you guys, but you know, when you write a book, like I said at the launch the other night, it's kind of like running a garage sale. You spend all this time and effort. You've done it, folks. You've set up. You've went around your house and gathered everything up that you're going to sell. You put all those price tags on it. You move it all into the garage. You get up at 6 a.m, the day of the garage sale. You put out all these tables, and then you like make $30 or $40. So you're like, is it worth it? So that's how this book is for me. Like, I know I keep pushing it, and it's not even about making the money. I want to get this book out because I want you to laugh. And everybody who has gotten this book, and I'm not exaggerating to say, oh, I'm the funniest guy in the world, because I'm far from it, but people I didn't expect to like this book, older relatives that I thought were going to be like, oh, the language in this is horrible, have called either us or my in-laws and said, we could not put it down. It was one of the funniest things we ever read. And these were people I were like, I thought they were going to, as Benji said at the forward, clutch their pearls and be like, but I want you to get it because I think it's, like I said the other night, it's an escape from all this bullshit we have in the world, the politics, all this nonsense. So pick up A Whole Lot of Shenanigans. And Jen here can vouch. You know, you parked at that parking lot. Mm-hmm. Was it not full of mutants?
Oh my God, it was insane. I think probably at least every day there was at least one of those people that would sit. They would bring 2 people and one would sit in the car running
so
they
pay.
didn't have to pay for the things. There was at least that, yeah.
And I was expected to go out there and confront these people. Now in an age where everybody's filming everything, the ownership wanted me to confront people and try to throw them out of the parking lot. So that's not a really good thing to be doing in today's climate, confronting people at their cars and for $5.
Especially the people that are parking in your parking lot because it's mostly people that are going in for court hearings.
Oh, I would say, other than the guys peeing in the water balloon, sharing the urine story, where the guy was peeing in the funnel, it's in the book.
I haven't. My husband snatched the book from me as soon as I walked in and said, "Are those stories you always told me in here?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'm sure some of them are."
Whenever there's a car would pull in and sit and not pay, I was expected to lock up, go out there and see what the hell was going on. Mm-hmm. So one day I approached the car, and there were 2 guys in there. One was peeing into a funnel that was attached to a water balloon to give to his friend to go in and pass his drug test.
Oh, my, yeah.
So that
doesn't surprise me.
So that was the only time I didn't have a confrontation. But 9 out of 10 times, if I went out there, people would curse me out, tell me mind my own business. Yeah. They're waiting for somebody. They're not parking. I said, if you're occupying a space that we could otherwise sell to somebody else, you're parked. They couldn't wrap their heads around that concept. So you have those stories. And
is the story in there about the neighbor guy at the neighbor parking lot?
Which one?
The one that you used to harass.
Yes. The church.
Just for that story alone, people, you need to buy this book.
Folks,
this relationship between Charlie and the neighboring parking lot guy is
and it wasn't competition. It was just this guy didn't like me, I didn't like him, so I would bring stale bread in from the week and scatter it around his parking lot, and every bird in town was like flying and shitting all over this guy in the morning, and he was swatting pigeons, and I would throw the crackers if I had expired. We talk about expired product. I had these peanut butter crackers. I scattered them all over his lot, and this guy was actually eating them off the ground.
Now, see, I wouldn't go that far.
You wouldn't eat them?
No,
Even if they were sealed?
No,
You didn't know who handled them?
Well, and plus, I would assume that, like, cars rolled over them and what have you. So, yeah, no, I wouldn't eat those. But, yes, those stories are worth it. Just, you got to buy the book just for those stories.
So, take it from Jen, somebody who actually had hands-on experience dealing with the people at that parking lot. Pick up the book. It's called A Whole Lot of Shenanigans. It is available on Amazon, and if you'd like a signed copy or personalized copy, I have an eBay channel set up. Just go to eBay, type in A Whole Lot of Shenanigans up in the search bar. Folks, I don't need to explain search bars. You know, if you're on the internet, you know what a search bar is. So do that. And Jen, thank you so much for coming in today. This was fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Will you come back?
Sure. Let's see what your fans think first. They might think I'm an idiot.
I think they're really going to like it. I mean, what's not to like?
I eat old food and serve people old food.
Well, other than the old food, folks, is the sense of humor not like the female version of me? Come on.
That is a compliment. Thank you.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for this show, folks. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you had fun. Jen, thanks again. It was really a fun time. And as I always say, folks, beware. It's a shit show out there. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a bunch of malarkey. Take care, everybody.